Gonna keep this short and sweet. Hello everybody, welcome to my WEEB wrap up for June and July of 2022. I forgot to record an introduction. I recorded an outro, but because I recorded this over the course of obviously 2 months at 2 separate times with various different cut-ins, I just didn't rewatch my old footage and didn't realize I didn't in fact have a intro in this set of footage when it should have been in this set of footage. So, hello everybody, my name's Brooklyn, otherwise known as the Dramatic Otaku. Today we will be talking about a bunch of different anime and manga. If you're new here, the WEEB wrap-up or Otaku review, because I'm making it double name now apparently, is a bi-monthly wrap-up of all the anime and manga and occasionally some other films and books that I've read over the course of the last 2 months. And I do read and watch a lot, but surprisingly this time I didn't watch as much as could have. But yes, so much like with the last bi-monthly we wrap up, I didn't actually watch all that much anime in the second month, that being July of this year. So I don't remember if there is even a July anime. There is a July manga, there's a lot of a July manga. There's a May anime, not May, there's a June anime where we get to talk about finally all of the spring anime now that's all been completed, and I get to talk about spring manga. So yeah, before we begin, if you guys could like and subscribe, that would be much appreciated. I upload these kinds of review videos once every 2 months, occasionally with a I need to talk about this now kind of video, like my Kaguya-sama videos or my talking about spring anime video, where I just couldn't not talk about spring anime before this video. So I'm also trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and I cannot do that without your guys' help. So yes, that being said, let's head into June with my recording from June. I am such a scatterbrain that I fucking forgot to do an intro. Okay, so this section is going to be a little bit chopped up as I do have some segments from during the middle of the month when I did film, because there was just some things I needed to talk about that I just didn't want to write down or didn't feel like I could convey properly. Let's move in to June anime. It's Pride Month and I'm your gay mum. So what did I watch in June? Well, most of these, as you can probably tell, is going to be the spring anime that I mentioned in my spring anime video. This is wrapping up at the end of all the series. What is my opinion of each and every one of these series, starting with Daimon Recipe for Happiness. So I gave Daimon Recipe for Happiness overall a 6 out of 10. I only give it the score because it is so painstakingly boring. I'm really not a slice of life person, or at least I'm not a slice of life person that, I'm not a person who likes slice of life that is strictly slice of life. I prefer having slice of life mystery, slice of life romance. I'm just not a full all wholesome, sugary, sunshine and snow and goodness slice of life kind of person, and that's what Daimon Recipe for Happiness is. It is that kind of show. The show as a whole was very draining to watch as someone who isn't as into slice of life. I really stayed in it because I kind of wanted to see where Itsuka goes with if she finds her dad or not. While some series on this list have episodes that feel way too short, Daimon's feels so excruciatingly long. I would wait a period of 2 weeks just to watch 2 episodes in one shot so that I wouldn't have to watch one each week by the end. So that should give you a hint of my disdain for the series. I don't hate the series. It is very visually pleasing. I actually very much enjoyed the little bits of information you get about Wagashi sweets. And overall, I can give this show its props. Its story is solid. The threads are all there and it is very concise and a lovely story. I'm just not the person for this story. The visuals are quaint and pretty, and for a slice of life, it does have a lot of heart. The background art is very beautiful, switching from a solid, typical anime style to a watercolor background, which I find very beautiful. However, with it being a watercolor theme, there is occasionally a big white border around the shots, which absolutely drove me up the wall. And with a series like Daimon, where it's really long, excruciating and boring, I notice that shit and it just aggravates me for no apparent reason other than it does. This is a good show, but I can't in my heart suggest this for everyone. If you're a slice of life person who just loves the absolute wholesome, loving, warm shows that just have no romantic plot whatsoever, then absolutely go for Daimon Recipe for Happiness, but it just really wasn't for me. Next on the list, this isn't technically an anime, but I do like to talk about this with stuff that I watch, that being anime. I did break this rule before with Heartstopper in my manga in the first bi-monthly thing that I did. Anyway, we're going to be talking about Battle Royale. Yes, it's not an anime, however, it is a cult classic in its own right, so I must talk about it. Battle Royale, if you do not know or slightly recognize the name, Battle Royale is the original killing game. Okay, maybe it's not the original, but it is the most prominent. It is the king of killing game media, of all the sort of killing game animes and shows, be this Squid Game, Hunger Games, Tomodachi Game, even the King of Kings is Battle Royale. I don't really have a lot to say about this movie, as well, it's a cult classic, it's a death game movie. I liked it. So I had a very similar reaction to this film that I did when initially watching Carrie, or however you say it, the Stephen King movie. My initial reaction to that is I thought it'd be more gruesome than it was. I guess I'm just more prone to, I guess I'm better at watching horror movies than I thought I was. I'm a lot less scared. The main thing with Battle Royale is a lot of death and gore. It very much gave me like Assassination Classroom vibes, especially with the uniforms that they were wearing, as I was sort of watching it. So I guess that, plus the fact that I'd watched Carrie and like Squid Game, which is a lot more gruesome personally to Battle Royale, and because I'd seen so many other death game media types of like horror movies and horror anime and horror manga and all that sort of stuff, I was kind of predisposed to the type of deaths that happen in this movie. I do have to say, probably my favorite death, the one that absolutely made my partner cringe, was the girl that fucking took an axe to a guy's dick. That, iconic. That was probably my favorite death. I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of awesome. It's a cult classic. I'm gonna have to give it a 10 out of 10. That's pretty fucking cool. Next is Ahane-san wa Hakarenai. He's hoping for a season 2. That's all I really have to say on it. The end of the series is very sweet and very wholesome. There's 2 sort of uneasy episodes where you don't really know what's happening with its 2 protagonists. Are they together? Are they not together? Will they? Won't they? That sort of stuff. But I kind of hope for season 2 they set it up for, if there is a season 2 we can run off that, but there's not likely going to be a season 2 for a show like Ahane-san wa Hakarenai. I still loved it. I give it an 8 out of 10. Tomodachi Game. These guys are fucking banking on a season 2. Honestly, this anime lost steam towards the end of the season, especially during the second game. The second game personally went on for way too long. The pacing was really kind of off with Tomodachi Game, and I just felt like it dragged and dragged and dragged, especially when it got to the third game. The third game just was not interesting. By the fourth game, and by fourth game I kind of mean the fake out game that they did for one episode, I was not paying attention during that episode. I had sort of lost all steam to watch the entire series by that point. I wasn't really interested, but I kept going, and these guys are begging for a season 2. Will I watch season 2 if it does come out? Maybe, probably, but it's not likely. I'm not too hot on this anime. It's definitely kinda overrated for what it's worth. It starts off fantastic. The anime really knew how to grip you in. It just absolutely lost steam by the end of the series. So as a whole, I give Tomodachi Game a 7 out of 10. Now, speaking of an anime that fucking deserves a season 2, let's talk about Dance Dance Dancer. So I've just watched episode 10 of Dance Dance Dancer, and I wanna put into perspective my thoughts now, because I know for a fact that in 2 weeks from now, when the fucking anime ends, I won't be able to remember this. And I want to make this point in my video. So, Dance Dance Dancer, I fucking adore. It is such a good anime, and it's really compelling in the way that maybe Yuri on Ice wasn't. And I only say that because Mappa did Yuri on Ice and is now doing Dance Dance Dancer, and just Dance Dance Dancer is a much deeper story, and it's fantastic, and I love it for that reason. Not only are you following Junpei, who's learning to be in touch with his love for ballet. Episode 10 is all about Miyako and Luo, and I fucking love it. Okay, the reason I wanted to bring this up is because you all saw, presumably, my last bi-monthly Otaku month anime and manga review. You saw that in April I watched Citrus, thinking it was like lesbian romance, and instead it is insert Sweet Home Alabama joke. That thing also is pretty much in Dance Dance Dancer through Luo and Miyako, because Luo has a crush on Miyako, but it is because Luo has no one else but Miyako, and the Miyako part is a little bit up in the air and it is very uncomfortable. But the reason why I'm giving Dance Dance Dancer a shot, or I'm not giving fucking Citrus a shot, is mainly because, obviously, one, Citrus really shoves it in your face, but two, I allowed myself to be spoiled for the manga of Dance Dance Dancer, and essentially where Junpei ends up in Dance Dance Dancer. And not only is the storyline in general, what the actual story delves into, really interesting, and I will be reading the scans for Dance Dance Dancer in the future. I probably will have started to read them by the time this video goes up. I'm giving this one a shot despite those themes that make me really, really uncomfortable, and also something that's making me uncomfortable is that Junpei is starting to have some sort of connection with a girl way younger than him, and it's the girl from the jumping, I'll just put the clip in here, this girl. He's starting to have some form of connection like that, and they're setting it up, but they're not outwardly giving romantic things, and I have spoiled myself for the manga. And what's it called? Apparently the manga goes through a few years, so a couple years down the line something happens between these two characters, right? And they're setting it up now, and I find that really interesting. I'm very intrigued by Dance Dance Dancer. It is very story heavy, and it's very throws you through a loop. I didn't expect to like it as much as I am, and I really, really want a season 2. So yeah, but I am going to be reading the manga after the anime series is done, and obviously you'll probably hear about it in the manga portion of this video, or have heard about it in the manga portion of this video. But yes, I really like it. The story beats are fucking fantastic. Obviously, yes, it has that Lua and Miyako are cousins, and that's fucking weird. But if you look into Lua's backstory, you understand why that is Lua, still on Miyako, but still. I really like the story mainly because of its main beats of obviously Junpei and his story, but I do like the intertwining beats of Lua's backstory and how the anime's approached Lua's backstory particularly. So yeah, let's go into the full review now that I've finished the series. Okay, so this series gets a 9 out of 10 for me. It absolutely smashed it out of the park. With episode 11 having been released and me knowing what I know about the manga, I can't fucking wait to get a season 2, hopefully. It is so slim of a chance that we get a season 2 of Dance Dance Dancer, but as I mentioned in that clip, the story for Dance Dance Dancer is so fucking rich. I love it. It is so good. And I really, really want a season 2. It is so very, very gripping. I give the series a 9 out of 10. I will absolutely be reading the manga for Dance Dance Dancer. Okay, Spy Family. There's not a whole lot to talk about Spy Family. The second half of Spy Family is coming out in fall of this year, the fall anime block. I can't wait for that. I've been reading the manga, spoilers for the manga section, but I fucking love Spy Family. It's so much fun, it's so funny, and I love it. I love Anya. Anya is my favorite character, as she probably is yours too. Your best wife. Love her. I want her to be my wife, and Lloyd Forger. I don't really have a lot to say about Spy Family that hasn't already been said. Highly recommend it. Insanely gripping, fun, fluid animation. I fucking love Spy Family, and I will be talking about it in my manga section. Yu Summer Lovers War Season 3, I made an entire video on, along with the elements of the manga that I read for this review, so I'm just going to be linking my Kaguya-sama video in the iCard, in the description, and at the end of the video. So if you want to watch that, I highly recommend that you should. If you want to know my opinions on Kaguya-sama in a more broad fashion other than I don't have to talk about how much I love Kaguya-sama kind of way that I've been given for the last one of these videos. So yeah, moving forward is finally, for June anime, heroines run the show. I have very mixed feelings about this show. As a whole, I give it like a 8 out of 10. It started off really strong, fucking loved it. However, episode 11 gave me very mixed feelings, and nothing says anything better than this comment right here that I found on the Crunchyroll website for this episode. I think this show is sending a really bad message by having the main character express guilt after being stalked, defamed, and literally punched in the face. Glasses Girl should be punished, but instead she gets pity. What an upsetting episode. So episode 11 is a confrontational episode. So the last 3 to 4 episodes of the series tackle controversy for the idols of this anime, and it's really telling of idol culture in Japan, which is the bad thing about this anime. Clearly, with it being a representation of idol culture in Japan, it's probably taken differently in Japan than it is here, but it is honestly really kind of toxic. So Hiyori and the 2 members of Lip Lip, they are stalked, taken photos of, and those photos are posted online. Hiyori's face and identity aren't shown, but a lot of hate is directed at her and the band. Now, these were posted online by her friend, who is an insane Lip Lip fan. And in episode 11, she confronts Hiyori. The way they take it is Hiyori feels bad for hurting her friend's feelings, when in reality, her friend is the one who hurt her. She should not be the one that is apologizing or feeling guilty for this. And as the comment that I just read states, it is really upsetting for the way that this series ended to have ended the way it did, because it is favoring the toxicity of idol culture, which I just really hate. It's so bloody toxic, and it just paints a really poor picture for an anime. I'm very glad they didn't go down the romantic route like I thought they would. However, to have killed off the show at the end like this is just bastardizing the entire fucking anime. I thought the ending of the entire thing was very cute, how she got the glasses girl into the final countdown concert, but the whole thing was sort of overshadowed by the fact that Hiyori was essentially having a fight with her friend, that she was justifiably upset that like her friend did this, and yet she's the one who ended up apologizing to her friend. It's just, I'm very disappointed with how this ended. Up until that point, I was very happy with the show. I thought it was a very cute show. For that, I give it a 6 or 7, I give it 7 or 8 out of 10. For the way that the show ended, I give it a 6 out of 10. I am very disappointed with how this show ended. It is still a very good show. If you like idol shows, then I would give this a watch. Just with the ending, it is very disappointing and reinforces Japan's highly toxic fan idol culture. So yeah, do this how you please. The show itself is very cute. I don't see it getting a season 2. I don't really want it to get a season 2. By the end of the series, they completely dropped the fact that Hiyori wants to be a track star, that she wants to go to nationals and all that stuff. It's again really upsetting to see, but that's what the series is. Personally, I give this a 7, 6, 7, maybe 6.5 out of 10, just because of the way that the last 4 episodes were handled and the way that the last 4 episodes went. It is the day after I've got my wisdom teeth taken out, and I shouldn't probably be talking, but I don't want to fucking talk about this anime at all after today, and that's Level Play. Mainly because I'm ditching this anime. It is so physically disappointing. So disappointing. I had such high hopes for this anime, and it's not good. It's not good. Okay, so when your standards are high Q and free and all that, and you can see the plot lines and the developments for a good sports anime, and this anime just falls fucking flat, especially when you've had an anime like Dance Dance Dancer, which in the way that Dance Dance Dancer was paced, it could be a sports anime, and that's why I partially classified it as a sports anime. Level Play, so disappointing. If you want my full opinion on Level Play, then go to my last video where I talk about Level Play, which is Spring Anime 2022. I've abandoned this anime after 12 episodes. It's so boring at the end, and that's all I'm gonna say. Really, Level Play disappointed me greatly, and it's just not how a sports anime should run. It is paced so fucking weirdly. Like, they set up a tournament, then we don't get to see half the fucking tournament. And in anime such as Free and in Haikyuu, stuff like that usually takes up 2 episodes at least. The build up to the tournament takes up an episode, and then the actual tournament will be 1 or 2 episodes. I have had my, admittedly, gripes with, say, Haikyuu's format being too long, but cutting out the fucking tournament in general? What? You only get 1 game, and it's between, I think it's Matsushima and Matsuda, and that's not even a gripping game, because we've been told this is the last game of the entire tournament, and it's between those 2, and I'm so thoroughly disappointed with this series. It's paced weirdly, the story beats aren't there. They've set them up and they just cannot follow through with them, and I'm really disappointed in that. And I am giving pain to myself because I've taken out 2 wisdom teeth. That's how much this anime disappointed me, and I'm abandoning it at episode 12. I have not been this heated about an anime that I'm abandoning in a long time. Mainly because, like, yeah, I had a lot of fucking faith in this anime. I thought it would be so good. It's not. It's severely disappointing, and I'm abandoning it because most of the anime that I started for the spring anime quarter is finishing up around now, and they're getting like a second part in autumn or in spring, or not spring, sorry, or in autumn or in summer, maybe even in winter. But just, I cannot continue this anime. Like, trying and waiting it out just isn't worth it. If I was interested in it, I would be interested in it by now. Like, there's other anime on this list where, yeah, it got sour by the end, but it fucking ended. This is just continuing going, and it's so goddamn boring. It's so goddamn disappointing. And that's my piece on level play. I give this series 4.5 5 out of 10. It really disappointed me. So yeah, that is my June anime. Now moving on to June manga. So in June, I made a pact to myself, don't buy manga in June, you are poor. So I didn't buy manga in June. Instead, I got myself a subscription to the Shonen Jump app. This isn't an ad. If it was, I wouldn't be fucking paying a subscription to Shonen Jump. But I held myself back from buying manga this month. I did read an actual physical volume of manga, that being my Inuyasha Volume 3. Again, I don't really like to talk about series midway through me reading them. I read Volume 3, it was very fun. Really loving Inuyasha thus far. It really bothers me that it feels like, okay, this could wrap up soon, and then I know there's like 18 of those fucking Viz Big volumes, possibly up to 23. So I'm just like, I'm sitting here for a long fucking time for this series. Anyway, the series that I really want to talk about for this portion of the video is Spy Family. Now, I will put a pin in Spy Family for a second. Again, Kaguya-sama Lovers War. I read up to chapter 266, that being volume 22 onwards, to the latest chapters that have been translated for us. So that is what I read. Again, it will be in my Kaguya-sama video, that will be in the iCard, in the description, and linked at the end of the video. So, what did I think of Spy Family? Because again, I got to read that on the Shonen Jump app. I am currently up to date with Spy Family in the manga form. What did I think of it? I fucking love it. Oh, I love it. I have screenshotted so many panels to use as reaction panels because Anya is such a mood. I fucking love Anya in this series. I also read the arc that is soon coming in the anime, which is the arc where they introduce Bond. I love Bond so much. He's so cute. Oh, he's so amazing. I absolutely adore this series. I adore how Anya and Bond can bond. It's so cute. I love it. I love it. Oh my god. I also fucking adore the arc where Yor is on that yacht and she is taking care of that mafia family, mainly because we finally get to see a lot of Yor, and I love Yor so much. Oh my god, because a lot of Spy Family right now is especially in the anime, is very Lloyd Forger heavy, and he is the main protagonist of the series, so it does make sense. But to see a whole arc dedicated to Yor, so good, and that arc birthed my favorite reaction image that I use on Instagram all the fucking time, which is this. Oh, Anya, you fucking genius. I love her so much. I have so many screenshots for reaction images for Anya. She is so sweet and so cute. Honestly, my favorite arc thus far has to be Yours arc. We also got to see a bit of Lloyd's backstory in the manga. I love it. I also love the little interactions between, I forgot his name, I only know his name as Curly because of his curly fucking hair, and of Bond. Their interactions together is so super cute and really funny. I love that when Bond is doused in water, he's a super skinny dog. It is so funny. And I fucking love this series. I can't wait to see where this series goes, because it is definitely not gonna end anytime soon. It has a just long road ahead of it, and I'm very excited to see where it goes. So yeah, that has been essentially all of my manga that I read in June. I have been trying to get into horror manga. I have a whole big old list of horror manga that I want to get. I'm gonna try and keep up my not buying manga in July as well. On the topic of horror manga, I did read a horror manga that actually ended up turning out to be a yaoi as well, which was Heartless, which is about a man and the incubi, one of those things that he's with. He's a selective mute, and yeah, it's an interesting read. I didn't really expect it to be a yaoi manga, because just, as I showed, I had a big long list of these. I wasn't really fazed by the fact it was yaoi. I used to be a Fujo, so it didn't really faze me all that much. I've seen much worse. The horror side, I actually did like. It was pretty good. It was a solid horror kind of yaoi novel, but yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't great. It wasn't entirely sucky, but it's pretty good. I spent a solid hour reading it, and yeah, so that has been my manga for June. Now let's take it to July. Okay, so I know this is a manga. I've probably already said this, but I need to fucking talk about this book. So I'm gonna smash out two things that aren't manga and anime at the start of this video. That being this book by Jiran J. Zhao. I am so sorry if I have fucked that in any sense, but we're talking about Iron Widow. So I love this book. This is the queer representation we needed, and it's by a queer person. So yes, Iron Widow, if you do not know, the author of this book is also a YouTube content creator. I love their videos, especially learning about Chinese traditions and history and the emperors and empresses on their channel. And a couple months ago, they did a very short, like 2 video series on Wu Zetian. Again, sorry if I fucked that up, who inspired the main character of this story. It is a fantasy sci-fi novel that pulls or is inspired by the historical figure of Wu Zetian, and this story is about her. She is the main character. Forgive me, for I am not very well versed in her actual story, but I'm pretty sure this just pulls the character and is inspired by the legend, but not actually is the legend, obviously. This is literally everything I could have wanted. I took 2 notes in this entire book, and spoilers, I would highly recommend this book. First of all, this talks a lot about the protagonist and the ideas of gender, especially towards the end, and the sexism that she's like forced to endure, I guess. It goes through her struggles, and I love it. Now, I took 2 notes in this entire book, and these are major spoilers for the book, so I would click away to the next part now if you don't want to be spoiled, but I took 2 notes. Let these guys become a fucking throuple. It became a throuple. Let's fucking go. Love triangle. How about in love triangle? Polyamory rules. I love this book. It isn't a romance book, but it has elements of romance in it, and I love it. I love it for that reason. It's mainly like sci-fi mystery, but has like, or sci-fi fantasy, sorry, but has elements of romance in it, and that's what I love. And the character development of all of the characters, maybe except for Yuji. I'm again hoping that's how you say his name. I'm going to mispronounce so many names. Our 2 main characters, Zitian and Shimin, Lee Shimin, their character development together and separately is fucking awesome. My only like piece of criticism with this is that it feels janky in some chapters. Like, the pace of it as a whole, fantastic, but there are some chapters where it feels out of place and like the character realizes something at one point, then sort of forgets about it and then realizes it again just more powerfully. That's my only real criticism. There's a little bit of jankiness in the chapters because of that aspect, but other than that, this is fucking fantastic. I love this so fucking much. It's like the perfect amount of like plot to romance to like sci-fi-ness. It's not like solely sci-fi. It's like like the way that this book is like a book about mechas but isn't at the same time. It's so good. Like, I love it. I don't even like sci-fi books. This is the exception. I fucking adore this. Like, as I said, I can't even say they're a YouTuber because they're an author. I see them more highly as an author than as a YouTuber. But the only person I can really compare like a book like this to in terms of like they had notoriety prior to their releasing of a book is like John Green. And out of the 2 YouTuber books that are actually fictional books that I've read, this one is the far superior one. This one is so fantastic and such a nice, lovely read, and I love the polyamory. Because at first, the romance is set up like a love triangle-esque type thing, but then it's not. And there's romantic dynamics between all of the characters in the triangle, and they actually make reference to the triangle and make it the triangle's the most powerful shape, and it's perfect. And then they kill one of the characters, which is where a sequel is coming in. Now, they haven't released a sequel. When they do, I will absolutely fucking pre-order it. Hello, of course I will. But this is the start of I'm hoping maybe 3-book series. Depending on how the next one goes. Like, this one was a fantastic read. I could easily tell that this was going to be the start of a series. It's like, it's very gripping. I think now that I've read this, I have a 5-chapter rule. For anime, it's a 3-episode rule, which I'm very, very lenient on. For manga, it's a 1-volume rule, which is actually about 5 chapters. For novels like this, it is a 5-chapter rule or a 100-page rule, because every time I read a book that I fucking love, it gets good at chapter 5. It gets me intrigued by chapter 5. This got me intrigued after chapter 2. So, like, the first chapter was very difficult to get into because, like, I bought this on a whim. And as you can see on the bottom here, I, like, damaged it because I dropped it immediately after it came home, but like, and you can see I've cracked the spine to shit because I've been reading it for the past 3 days. So I had this before I started reading it. It's been just sitting on my books to read shelf for a while because like I've wanted to read this. I absolutely adore and admire the author as a video content creator, but like I really was unsure if this was going to be good or not, because typically you think if it's by a YouTuber it's not all that great, but I wanted to put my faith into the creator because they make such like compelling and good content. So I did put my faith, and I'm so glad I did because this is fucking fantastic. I don't typically like book series because the last book series that I read hurt me, and I have not finished said series. So I'm actually very, very in love with this series. If anyone's read this series, if anyone's read this book that will soon be a series, I really can't wait to see a second book come out of this. But if anyone's read this and has any suggestions of something like this for me, I would 100% appreciate it because this is so fucking good. It's so fucking good. For a, like, not even for a book that's written by someone who's also a YouTuber, by a person. This is a genuinely really good book, and there was a lot of things that I could relate to the protagonist. There was a lot of things that I could fucking read and go, oh yeah, this author's my type of person, that kind of stuff. Because obviously it takes inspiration from Chinese traditions, but at the same time is insanely fucking modern, and that is what I adore. It is the perfect mix of the two, and it is just fantastic. And the end, okay, little bit salty that you killed my favorite boy, but the absolute killer rampage that Zetian goes on chef's kiss. We love, we adore. I also like that you didn't technically kill him because the epilogue says otherwise. I love it. I love it so much. This is such a good book. I would highly recommend it. Don't go into it thinking it's a romance book. It is so much more that. It is a journey of self-discovery and trust, and oh, I love it. I love it so much. Queer masterpiece. I was gonna say feminism masterpiece, which it kind of is, but it is also inherently queer, so I'm just gonna call it a queer masterpiece. Also a feminist masterpiece, but still, I love it. It's amazing, and I think it is now one of my new favorite books. So yes, that is my review of Iron Widow. I love it. Okay, now that I've spoiled the shit out of Iron Widow, I want to talk about Thor, Love and Thunder, because I went to go see this with my mum. I went like, it's the middle of July, so I went like July 17th, I think. Something you need to realize before watching Thor, Love and Thunder, it is the rom-com, the cheesy rom-com of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The thing about this is that I'd heard from, like, I follow content creators who review films, and they all said it was like it's a rom-com, and it's got like really cheesy comedy and all that sort of stuff, and it kind of crams it down your throat. I absolutely see that. I can totally see that. Going into it, if you think it's going to be a Marvel film, like a Marvel film, like you think it's like action and the little bit of comedy here and there, no, it's not gonna be that. You have to go into it thinking it's trying to be a comedy movie with a little bit of action, right? And knowing that it was supposed to be this like low-key cheesy rom-com, which I'm assuming it wasn't supposed to be, but something like that, made it a lot better for me. Did having my mum genuinely laugh at it make it a little bit better, because when she laughs at something, I know it's really fucking cheesy because she genuinely laughs at that kind of shit. It is a little bit hard to tell if I was laughing at my mum laughing at the film or laughing at the film itself. There was a few moments where it was like sort of cringe laughing, but like the thing is, don't take this movie too seriously. Have a good time when watching it, essentially. I enjoyed it for that factor. I got uncomfortable, particularly when Natalie Portman's character talked about cancer. That is my own personal prerogative because of my family history and because of the fact that I was having odd period cramps on that day, so my brain just went, something's wrong. Not necessarily the plotline. I thought it was very brave of the fucking producers to kill off a character by something that isn't necessarily the fault of the Avengers or by a galactic level threat, but instead something very human. I thought that was fantastic. Honestly, a very nice, peaceful way that isn't totally tragic of this character to happen. Like, it is absolutely tragic, but not like completely tragic, like the hero could have saved their love interest by killing the villain. It's not like that whatsoever. It's definitely tragic in the hero couldn't have prevented it at all. That's what I kind of like about this death. Personally, out of all the deaths that we face in the MCU, with like, this could have been prevented technically by the superheroes, this death couldn't have been prevented by the superheroes, and that's kind of what I like about the death. It's a death that feels more justified of the character. She went out being a literal hero and died by no fault of anyone else, really. A blameless death, if you will. And I guess that's what makes the death somewhat more tragic. And yeah, that is a tragic part of it. Something I would like to note about the ending of the film that I caught instantly. So a lot of the comedy, it felt like they were like holding up a sign in front of you, like you're in a studio audience and they're just holding up a sign going, laugh. That's what the comedy felt like half the time. Some of the more subtle stuff was pretty funny. I also love I love the Dwayne The Rock Johnson joke at the end. Genuinely funny. But the thing, I also really like the Bow God, but the thing that I caught instantly when watching the end, and when I say the end I mean like the movie end, not the after credit scene, but the movie end, is that the girl that plays the daughter of the villain is actually Chris Hemsworth's daughter. And at one point at the very end of the film, Chris Hemsworth's voice breaks character. Like, you know, he usually has the Thor accent. It breaks and he goes back into his normal speaking voice because he's talking to his daughter. And I caught that instantly. I'm sure other people have as well, but like, I think that's very funny to me. I don't know why it's so funny to me. I guess he just couldn't hold his composure enough because it's his literal child, but still. And yeah, that's Thor Love and Thunder was pretty good. I think it's just a good fun thing to watch with your mum who loves comedy films and likes Marvel films and likes the Hemsworths. So good on that. Would I watch it by myself? Yeah, I think I would. I think I'd mainly watch it with other people. That's probably the more fun way to watch it. I do like that it honestly feels like Chris Hemsworth is playing a melodrama character when he plays Thor, and I do very much like it. Thor is probably one of my favourite Avenger films. That's not just because Chris Hemsworth is Australian. Genuinely, I think the films are kind of funny. He can be a dick, but like now, later in the films, they're sort of playing it up. He's more melodramatic and all that kind of shit. And yeah, so I do have an issue with it. Why do all the gods in the universe bow to Zeus? Why Zeus? And you're telling me every single god in existence actually exists. Almost all of them. That's the thing that I don't necessarily understand about it, but it's the Marvel Universe. You do you, boo. But why specifically Zeus? Of all the people, you chose Zeus. But yeah, so that's my non-anime manga review of the day. Let's get into some anime manga. I finished the cosplay. Don't ask about the hat. The hat's normal color. I stole the hat from the green fuck. It's on brand, on character. And these gloves, stole them from the mouse, bitch. Yes, I finished my Waluigi cosplay, and I am doing what I promised to do and wearing this cosplay in as many videos as physically possible. Now, this sexy Waluigi is here to talk about manga for July of 2022. No, I did not watch anime in July of 2022. I started watching Tokyo Mew Mew, but Tokyo Mew Mew has 52 episodes and I wasn't going to finish that in the last 3 days of July. So this video is now just manga for July of 2022. Honestly, me watching as many spring anime that I did really wore me out, plus half of the anime that I wanted to watch in July of 2022 was on a completely different streaming platform than Crunchyroll, and I don't have a VPN to see if it actually is on Crunchyroll in other states, or in other countries. So I am stuck with having to wait until it comes, or wait until I have money to watch the anime that I want to watch at some point in time. July 2022 manga. Let's get into it because I decided to go on a horror binge. Yes, I've been trying to get into more horror anime, read more horror manga, and that is reflected in this month. That's the word I was looking for. I was gonna say season. So we're gonna start off with Erotic Horror, which is a short, one-shot series volume novel thing. And it is a series of short horror romance one-shots. Kind of. Overall, kind of average. Each story is completely separate from one another. It honestly gives me fanfic one-shot kind of vibes. I do like that they are all horror romance. They don't you don't typically see romantic horror, and not like romantic as in from the romantic period. I mean romance as a genre and horror as a genre. Intertwining those, typically it is a female protagonist and it is usually their fault something is happening. Now, that is reflected in this novel. 4 of 5 of these stories, the woman is at fault for the events occurring. On accident makes it more romance than horror. It feels a lot more like it's romance with elements of horror, thus the title Erotic Horror. With 4 of 5 of the stories putting the woman at fault of the events of the story, 2 of them are yandere stories as well. 2 of them include feminine yandere characters. Another story, which ironically is weirdly the most romantic, has a male villain in them, so that's something that I actually like to see in this, with majority of romance horror being putting the woman in the villain role. Having a male in the villain role is something I found a little bit refreshing, and it was also ironically the most romantic one out of all of them. So personally, my favorite story is the final one, Transient Future. It's very Groundhog Day meets The Minority Report meets Future Diary, I guess. It is definitely the best mystery horror. In terms of the romance element of the story, I think the 2 stories, Hotoru is Waiting and Shinigami Shiku, check the boxes for me at least. Definitely Transient Future is the better horror one, but the other 2, Hotoru is Waiting and Shinigami Shiku, definitely better romance, and I actually enjoyed them a lot more, thus they check the boxes for me. I like this particular set of one-shots for the fact that you don't see romantic horror all that often, or gore and romance all that often, so I did quite enjoy that, but it was kind of a meh for me. If you're into romance and like elements of horror in your romance, I would suggest this. If you're a huge horror nut, probably not this. So yeah, moving on, we're gonna quickly dip away from horror for a second for me to talk about Kaguya-sama, and we're going to be talking about individual chapters because I have some notes on chapters 267, 268, and 269. 267. Kaguya's really fixing her problems with money. Of course, that's how that arc fucking ended. 268, this entire scenario feels very familiar. And 269 is very cute. And we also have 13 chapters left, 12 as of the release of this video. So I am very, very excited for the final chapters of Kaguya-sama to come out. Now let's get back to horror. Okay, Variante or Variante. This story is a slow starter to a fucking roaring end conclusion. Up in flames end conclusion, if you would. So Variante is a story of a girl named Akio who has been mysteriously murdered but came back to life with a new superpower that she just did not have before. An unforeseen power, a giant fucking arm. Insert your jerk off joke here. Now, I'm not going to spoil too much. I wasn't hugely involved in the story of this story. It was very slow and repetitive at the very start. At the very end, it all kind of just smashes together. So it's a little bit of an up and down roller coaster ride, except you're sort of going up and it's like right like this. You're going up for a long, long fucking time. This story took me 3 days to read, whereas all the other ones took about 4 hours to read. Each individual story. So me having to read Variante over 3 days clearly shows how little interest I had in this story. I wanted to finish this story because I wanted to give it a chance, especially since it is a decently short story. I say decently short, I mean in terms of like comparing it to Demon Slayer or Oran or something like that. It has, I think, about 4 volumes to it. It has a couple of volumes, but it is decently short. Realistically, it probably should have taken me a few hours to read, and it took me 3 days. So that's just an indicator of how uninterested I was in this story. And I was never really gripped into the story until the last volume, which, if you're writing a story, you probably shouldn't be gripping in the audience at the last volume. It probably should be the first one. My reaction to the story is very similar to my reaction to Cutie Honey. I wasn't all that interested until I got to the end of the volume. But even then, Cutie Honey, that gripped me in within a couple of chapters. This gripped me in after about 12 chapters, which is not a good thing. It does also have a similar kind of premise to Cutie Honey in a weird, fucked up kind of way. That being super powered girl meets cop. They become a dependable duo, except the one variation, if you will, between Cutie Honey and Variante is that everyone fucking cocks it at the end of Variante, with exception to Akio. I know I said I wasn't gonna spoil it, but everyone but the main fucking character, who doesn't feel like the main character half the time, cocks it. Every single one of them. And the ending is partially left up in the air, but she does survive, and that's all you really need to know. Story beat wise, I did appreciate the main researcher's ending, as well as Akio's and the explained backstory of Akio's. Aiko. Why did I call her Akio? I wrote this script. Why the fuck did I call her Akio? No, it's too late now. I've already fucking recorded all that. She's gonna be Akio for half the story. Aiko. The ending to Aiko's story and the explained backstory of how Aiko got the variant arm that she did and how her family dies, and why she can sustain this power. It is very satisfying as compared to the likes of some characters in other horror anime just getting a power and being able to control it. Look at you, Attack on Titan. But Aiko's backstory makes a lot of sense, and I do very much like that about this story. It's a little bit far-fetched, but I do like it that way. Something that isn't fully explained in the story that I would like in the backstory a little bit is exactly how Aiko's father actually dies. Again, I won't explain too much, but the death of Aiko's father is a little ambiguous. Like, we're supposed to like get that he dies, but it isn't explained all that well, and unless his mysterious death that is implied means that he doesn't actually die and in the end the one that Aiko is with is him, that would make a lot more sense. However, it's supposed to be implied that he died and we don't know who Aiko ends up with at the end of the story, so it's a little bit of a stretch in that form. And I'm pretty sure Variante does have a spin-off series out of some form or is intertwined with another manga. I don't exactly remember. It's one of the fucking volumes of anime that is on this list. But yeah, personally, because of the way that I interpreted this manga and the fact that it took me 3 days to actually read this fucking manga with how short it is, I'm gonna give this manga Variante a 6 out of 10. I'm very sorry for fucking up and saying Aiko's name was Akio. Why the fuck did I call her Akio? It's Aiko. Green Worlds.
Climate change!
A child.
Okay, I will say. So I'm not going to give a huge explanation on Green Worlds because it is actually significantly longer than the likes of Variante. And that being said, I read this in about 4 hours. So again, should say a lot about Variante. You have to read this manga in a brain dead state because some of the shit in this story, the fucking amount of plot armor this main character fucking has is stupidly insane, okay? There is a lot in this manga that you just have to accept that's happening. It's a lot. It started off great, but by part 2, because this is a 2-part series, at part 2, I just didn't want to read it anymore. Where was the main character for half of that part? Why are we following this other person? You've just like thrown all the mystery out the window and turned it into a different fucking story at that point. Now, I will say, the fucking scene where the guy taunts the giant dung beetle and then proceeds to get run over by the giant dung beetle is so fucking funny. I love it. Best part of the entire fucking manga. That audibly made me laugh. I've said the plot armor. Why the fuck is there interdimensional time travel in this fucking story? You could have had so many other explanations to the story. Why did this story need interdimensional time travel? What the fuck? I don't like that. This is why you need to read this story at a brain dead level. Oh my god. As I said, this story gets stale after part 1. There are significant loose threads that keep you wanting more. This feels like a giant and then story, and then this happens, and then the dung beetle runs over the guy, and then you're chased by a giant fucking baby. Then the giant baby merges with a little girl, and suddenly there's a big bubble over Tokyo. That's stealing a premise from something else. And then there's just a giant tree that releases zombie pollen. What the fuck? This is a giant and then series. And I am not kidding, all of those instances are in the fucking story. I spent 4.5 hours reading this story. I would read it, ironically, read it to laugh at it with your mates. I would not read this seriously. Do not take this manga seriously. It's a good thing to laugh at, but it crawled on like the baby that was fucking chasing them. Okay. Karada Sagashi. I'm fucking hoping I pronounced that correctly. I didn't get to finish this one. So I read up to volume 2, chapter 13, because that is all of the English scans that I can find for this manga. It's going to be the same with the next manga that I mentioned, but Karada Sagashi, I want to fucking mention it because it is genuinely really good, and it has a live action movie, I believe, being released later this year. It is genuinely a really good manga. Now, according to my anime list, there are 17 volumes and 153 chapters, but there's only 13 chapters translated online from what I could find. Now, also with this series, there is a short online anime. However, this was released solely on Production IG's official app, and because of that, I'm assuming that the app is region locked and that the anime is in full Japanese without subtitles. So I won't be able to watch it. Also, every episode clocks in at 3 minutes. Thus, I think it would only cover the first couple of chapters because only a few episodes were made. And yes, I will be watching the live action movie that comes out with the film if I can get my hands on it. If anyone can direct me as to where to find more English translated chapters, I would greatly appreciate it because I really want to continue reading this manga. It's essentially another death game anime or death game manga, as you've got 6 students, I believe, being thrown into a death game because their friend has been killed. They have to find pieces of their friend's body, and they have to avoid a little girl in a red dress wanting to fucking murk their asses. So it's very similar to the likes of Corpse Party. If you like Corpse Party, you will probably like Karada Sagashi. The manga is very Corpse Party meets Groundhog Day, as they have to keep reliving the same day until they find all the pieces of their friend's body. So this is going to be pretty interesting. I do really want to read the full series. Again, if anyone knows where to get more than 13 chapters of this fucking manga, then I would greatly appreciate it and appreciate you. Since I'm learning Japanese, maybe I will try my damned hardest to try and read it in Japanese eventually. But yeah, so it's also very Happy Death Day, though I haven't actually watched that film. The premise sounds almost the exact same, except it's a group of people instead of one person, and with far gruesomer visual deaths. So I would 100% recommend this if you can read Japanese, because I can't find more than 13 chapters. I give it a solid like 8 out of 10 because of the first 13 chapters, and seeing as many manga get better after 13 chapters, then I think it's better than the likes of like Variante. Next is another unfinished translation manga, personally, which is Shika Bancho Undead. Again, this is essentially 2 volumes, and I've read 7.5 chapters, essentially 8, but one of the chapters was labeled 7.5, so I've read up to 7.5 in terms of chapters. Another example of a series that I can't find more English scans for, but there are more labeled chapters for, essentially. Apparently there is 22 chapters, and again, I can only find the up to 7.5. It's definitely the more solid of the horror manga I've read this month, with Karada Sagashi coming in second, then probably Variante Greenworlds comes last, just because the fucking amount of plot armor that character has, I can't even fucking believe it. Oh my fucking god. The visuals don't exactly hit as hard as they should in comparison to the likes of Variante or Karada Sagashi, but this plotline does fix that. The plotline is essentially government corruption. That's the plotline, and it's very good. That was my horror manga for this month. I do have one more manga to talk about, and that is Dance Dance Dancer chapter, or up to chapter 65. Now, Dance Dance Dancer, you guys saw that I talked about Dance Dance Dancer in anime form. I really wanted to read the manga, and surprisingly, a majority of the manga up to like chapter, I think, 50 is in the anime. They do cut out quite a bit of like side character plot. Like in the anime, there is the two main love interests. Well, the manga essentially has a third, which is, she is in Junpei's like friend group in some of the scenes, but she's not mentioned all that much. Like in the manga, she has this whole scene during the middle of when Junpei is trying to like decide if he wants to do ballet or not, where she talks to him on the roof and lifts up her skirt, which comes a little out of left field, but I think that just hits home harder that Dance Dance Dancer probably won't get a season 2, just because of the way that they ended the season, which is fine, but from what I've heard, Dance Dance Dancer has up to 200 chapters already, and they've only got 65 English translated chapters thus far. I will be keeping up with the English translations. I do hope people keep updating the English translations. So yeah, majority of the scans that I've read so far have been stuff that we've already known, with a few extra characters being removed from the anime, as well as some scenes. The rest of the story following what we've gotten up to in the anime all take place a year after the events of the anime. Morale is 14 now, meaning he was 13 in the events of the anime, and in the start of the manga they might have aged him up in the anime from memory, but I'm not too sure. But the manga said he's 14 as of events happening 1 year after the events of the anime. Okay, we've got that down. He's working hard at Oikawa. Oncoming scenes are very drama-packed and drama-heavy, as is with the rest of the Dance Dance Dancer series, franchise, whatever you want to call it. And a lot has happened over a small portion of time. But long story short, Junpei was pushing himself so much that he ends up getting a stress fracture in his foot. He completely disregards that, and on his way to Russia, he gets a call saying that his best friend Hyo-chan, or Hyo, I don't know his full name, so it's gonna be Hyo-chan, which is the guy who essentially goes to his ballet recital, who's the one most against initially Junpei being into ballet, that sort of stuff. You know, the guy who bullies Lua, that guy, Hyo, he gets stabbed in the hand, he gets stabbed in the hand, but Junpei gets a call that Hyo gets stabbed in the hand, but is just referred to as he is stabbed. And he ditches the trip to Russia, expecting that he'll get on a plane the next day and fly off to Russia to be in this recital as a background character. He does not. He doesn't get it, because he went to go help his friend who was stabbed. And that's classified as him abandoning the performance. So, because he went to go help his friend who was stabbed and abandoned the performance, he is now on Oikawa's bad side. We also do find out who that man was who influenced Junpei to be a ballet dancer in the first place, which is awesome. We also get to find out his tragic backstory, which is also awesome. And yeah, also Hyota might be gay or mentally ill, one of the two, or a combination of the two. Essentially, after we find out Hyota was stabbed, we get a little bit of a backstory of how and why he was stabbed. In that backstory, he puts on his sister's dress, expressed that if he was a woman, he would have dated the kid that he was initially bullying in this scenario, of which he got stabbed, because of how brave he is. So I can't tell if he's some form of legay or if he is some form of mentally ill, or the both. I don't know which one it is. Possibly both. Because it would be cool to have a character who is gay, who isn't a ballet dancer, portrayed in this story. But also, there is very clear signs that this character has severe depression, and is definitely some form of mentally ill. It is very clear with Hyota that that is there. That is essentially what I've gotten up to in Dance Dance Dancer. Currently, as of chapter 65, we've gone back to Junpei being on the bad side of Oikawa, and his struggle now, having learned that he is on the bad side of Oikawa. Now, that is all the anime that I have... That is all the manga that I have read in July of 2022. I will see you guys again in 2 months for what I read in August and September. And excitedly enough, in September I will be attending Crunchyroll Expo and I will be debuting my full Waluigi cosplay for you guys, for the world, and I will hopefully be entering into a cosplay competition for the first time. So yeah, that is all. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video in some form. Please, for the love of God, if you read Green Worlds, read it with your friends, because just the amount of fucking lunacy that is in that manga is insane. What anime manga have you watched during June and July? Did you enjoy it? Would you recommend it? Absolutely leave your recommendations for manga for me or anime for me in the description down below, in the comment section down below, because I will 100% take a look. Will I read them? Will it come up in one of the next... I had a name. WEEB wrap up! That's the official name of this series. The WEEB wrap up. I had it as Otaku something, the Otaku review. It's the WEEB wrap up. That is a far fucking better name. It'll be Otaku review / WEEB wrap up from what I fucking remember. Okay, that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you could please like and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and I can't do that without you guys. Now, I hope you have a lovely day, night, weekend, afternoon, fucking, I don't know why I say weekend. I upload every Wednesday at 10 AM Australian Eastern Standard Time, occasionally on 10 AM Friday, Australian Eastern Standard Time, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.